Hello, this is the LEGO Trolls World Tour Pop Village Celebration set. And it's a lot more than I was expecting, a lot more in several different ways. Now, I have to level with you right from the start. I don't know Trolls, and I especially don't know the modern reboot Trolls cinematic universe, I guess it is, within which World Tour is the second movie. If I'm not mistaken, I might be mistaken about that. But I wanted to sample this theme in its LEGO form, see what LEGO did with it, and I especially wanted to check out the new parts, and I'm glad that I did. This comes with 3 somewhat close to normal minifigures, one really weird one static single piece micro figure, and then all the build that you see here. I'm actually going to start off with a closer look at the figures because I want you to see just how different they are from regular figures and how LEGO did this thing. These have just regular minifig torsos and then the shortest forms of legs, so the child-sized legs. And compared to a regular LEGO minifigure, they look huge. They look like giants, even though I think they're supposed to be small, aren't they? I don't know. But the heads are just enormous. And you get a head here, and then you get the hairpiece. The hairpiece is separate. So I just pull this off. It's all hard plastic as well. There's nothing soft or fabric based. There's no combable hair like Trolls figures should have, like they used to. But yeah, it's just one big piece, and on the top there you see it's a 2x2 round area with hollow studs, so you could potentially stick things in there if you want to customize things. And all the hair pieces between these major figures with the same types of heads are able to be swapped around, so you can easily still customize these. It is unique. You know, it's something that's definitely different here, but it still stays true to the LEGO style in general. And then, again, these do just fit on regular torsos. So beneath there, that's a very familiar looking design. And a lot of these have a micro-sized or mini peg hole where you can attach an accessory. So like this one has the little flower that's attached to it that's compatible with the pieces that LEGO did for LEGO Friends. And some of these have a stud on top. Some of them have just an open space where you can put things inside, and that space is not any particular size from what I can tell. Like, it just is somewhat arbitrary. These 2 characters in particular are Branch on the left and Poppy on the right. Poppy has is it a ukulele, or is it a lute, or is it a lute ukulele, or a ukulele lute? One of those things. You will see a number of parts that you may not recognize, as you may never have seen before, in that yellow color. Small accessories in this set, including that flower piece that's in her hair right there. And I'll point out some of those along the way. They are new, and they come in a single parts pack with some of these new Trolls sets. It's just a new set of molds. They're probably all pressed together, and they just come in a small plastic bag. Note that you get dual molded legs with a new color combination for Branch over there on the left, and none of these have alternate faces because they're just set up, well, in a very obvious way, as you've seen. Here we have Guy Diamond on the left and Tiny Diamond on the right. Once again, one of those yellow accessory pieces right there from that same pack. And I especially wanted to get this set in order to get Tiny Diamond. It's just a unique little thing. You know, it's a unique mold, and it's done in a glitter infused trans light blue, which is just ever so slightly frosted. You know, it's not completely crystal clear. And then the figure on the left is built the same as the last 2 and shares one of the hair pieces. And this one in particular also has an accessory that's just kind of set in the top of the hair. It's just an egg piece in a dark lavender, I think it is. Not the lightest of lavender colors, but it's just sitting there. And there again, you can see how it's just an awkward size and shape of space. Speaking of awkward, this is Cooper, who's a member of the Funk Troll, I guess, subspecies of trolls or something like that. And this does use the same style of head as the others and has a compatible headgear piece and also one of those flowers up on top, but the body is unique. And that is dual molded, and it is static. You can rotate the head. You can turn from side to side. Sorry, this is getting a little bit... there we go. Just to show you that that is able to move. But other than that, I mean, the legs don't move. It's just as it is. And yes, this is a four-legged creature on the underside. Yeah, you can put it on top of studs, but that's about it. It's not too bad in how it's done, at least how it looks, but there's not that much you can do with it. Looking at the entire build, think of this like a treehouse. There are a lot of nature-based themes to the structures as well as the vehicles in this universe. And these large things, which are new parts from LEGO for this year, are pods. So they're like living pods. These would grow there or be made to come into existence through some sort of natural process. And then that would be a space where you could actually live. Now, LEGO, I don't think, has been able to scale it, each of these to the figures quite well, but they have some stuff inside, which I will show you. The major color that's used here is teal for the center structure, which is nice and works really well with the accent colors, especially the little bit of lavender. Got the lighter color of lavender as well, or lilac. I think this is more like a lilac, and this is more like a lavender, a pale lavender. And then also the lime green. There's plenty of that, plenty of yellow. These things over here on the side, these are made of felt, and they just go around a 1x1 brick that's attached on the side. This is two separate pieces, and then there's a printed face piece on the front there. Kind of an unexpected thing, but at least that gives us a little bit of an attachment to the old world of cloth-based things, or at least synthetic spun fabric type things with the way that trolls themselves used to be done with the original figures and all. And then this is showing a little bit of sky, so you rotate this back here. The stickers in this set are all based on a glittery and iridescent, almost holographic effect sticker sheet, so there's lots of shine and shimmer. And then you rotate this around and you get the sun. So the sun has a funny face on it as well. You will see more funny faces throughout this. So there's a sticker back there. It almost looks like there's an eye on a pod that's starting to grow there. And then here's another funny face. That is a printed piece that is on it's like a dome part, and it's being used as the cap of a mushroom that I'm assuming is alive here. You have a little singing stage here. So there's a better look at the patterns that you put together with mostly the modified tiles, the round ones that are 2x2 or the 1x1 quarter round ones. And there's another small pattern that's done just off to the side, offset a little bit to create a little bit of a step to get up to the stage. And you also have a little bit of space, I should mention, on the very top of this to add an additional pod. So the idea is that if you got multiple sets, including one other set with one of those large pods, which I'll show you in just a moment, you would move the sky out of the way and see this still has a mask behind it. So you still only see supposedly one form of the weather that has been created. And then you have this extra space where you can just drop a pod right there. So speaking of pods, let me go ahead and pull this one off. It's just hanging. It's not really attached particularly well, which is fine. Just makes it easier to get into this. This is a new piece right here, this leaf-looking thing that looks like a modified form of a Technic long pin. Well, these holes over here that it went through are Technic pin holes, but this has less friction than a Technic pin. It's much easier to put it in and to remove it. There's a little bit of friction. It does lock into place, but it's different. It just has a different structure to it and just makes it much easier to take that out than a traditional Technic long pin, which is a good thing. It would be a little bit frustrating otherwise, I think, at least for the target market. And here we have something that will fold down. So all this can be used just on the ground like that. And this is just a small bed over here. And you have a couple of little accessories for doing some hair work. Just a brush and then a built-up hair dryer. Got one of those stickers up top that's representing a disco ball. That's a good use of that type of piece. On the other side, just a diamond up top, and then that is a throne for Tiny Diamond himself. And again, with the sticker behind it. I think you can also pull this up. Not really. It's attached by just two. Yeah, I mean, obviously you can remove anything. One other last little thing that I wanted to point out here for folks interested in the parts that are new for this year. This piece down here that forms the floor on any of these pod halves is new for 2020. Unexpected part, bracket piece. It's 2x6 by 5/6, I think is what you would call that. Yeah, just a completely unexpected way to form a base here. I would have expected just studs on the top of this, just a couple of them, so you could put a plate there, but instead you're attaching with studs on the side. So you're actually pushing this in. Don't know why they went that direction, but they did, and it works fine. The other pod is on a hanger that's able to swing, so this can move to different areas. That's very convenient. It has a nice range to allow you to kind of change the shape of the play space. I'll just pull this one off. And I don't remember which side I'm supposed to open up. Doesn't really matter. Either way will work. Again, these are fairly easy to pull out, thank goodness. And you open this one up, and this one, well, has what appears to be a jukebox over here, so that's good. And then also a spot to hold on to a skateboard, just a regular one. And on the other side, there's not a lot there. A couple of accessory holders with the mini peg holes, and just a place to sit, I guess. Doesn't even have any studs on it or anything, so that's relatively plain. I feel like the other pod is adorned up a little bit more nicely. This is a flower piece that we've gotten before, I'm pretty sure. And then we have just a couple of additional adornments on the top of the gem and a couple of foliage pieces. So with the two major pods removed, let me go ahead and turn this around. I should point out the small slide over there on the side and a little go away sticker, like a mat at the base as opposed to a welcome mat. There's a ladder to get up the small slide again. And around the back, well, this is a kitchen area. And all of this, oopsie, come back here. I need to show you something new with that, but all of this comes out relatively easy. It's an oven, and it also has the stove on top. Now, notice this cupcake over here. Watch. Oh, so that falls out still. That's existing, but the cupcake is new. The cupcake doesn't do that, as it always would have before, since they first introduced the cupcake or the cupcake base, or tin, or shell for Lego Friends. You know, previously you would just put something in it and it would just barely be sitting there, and especially once you started to build up multiple pieces together, it would become very fragile. And at any moment, stuff would fall out, like happened with this. But now they've got this new cupcake piece, which has a stud on top. And that is fantastic. That is something that needed to happen. I hope they will hold on to this part forever and ever and ever. Because it has a stud on top. And it's an open stud. So you can put a bar-shaped thing in there. Still has the anti-stud on the underside, and that's extra deep even at this point. And it's just a better piece. Plain and simple. Just a better piece. This has hands. Not sure if that's in there. Oh, there we go. Got it all the way. Has hands on the side, holding on to any accessories that are attached over there. A sticker on the front, and you can also open this up because it's a proper brick build. You do need to line that up a little bit. Could have used a little bit of extra strengthening on the back to keep that from becoming askew, but you have plenty of space to actually put some stuff in there to pretend to do some cooking. And then that leaves not much in here, but at least the colors still work, I think. Even though you're seeing some weird colors back here, it all just kind of makes sense. There are no stickers on the walls to give you extra detail. Here is one extra character. So behind the web, you open this up and you have this little spider-like dude, which is a funny looking thing. Well, again, a face on a printed piece. Whoa, my camera is dropping. Sorry about that. Face on a printed piece and funny little legs, 6 of them with flowers for feet. So you can kind of pose that around, and it's funky and funny. And the last build I have to show you is this little ride for Tiny Diamond. It has just the wheels on the base, has a steering wheel there, a jumper so that he can be centered. This uses a sticker on the front with, again, that same backing material that shines quite a lot, twinkles quite a lot. And then we have here a couple more of these new pieces for 2020 that come in the same pack as the other new yellow parts that you've seen up to this point. And they look pretty good. They've made that pack in at least 2 colors, possibly 3. I know I've seen 2 colors for it in this theme, but that's it for this one. That's it for all the built up stuff, and you've also seen the figures. So that just leaves us with the leftover parts, of which there are plenty, and among which there are many of what I consider to be special pieces. Things that you don't get very frequently, or things in colors that are new or just nice to get. So I'm very happy, very, very happy with this selection. A lot of these things are going to be sorted out, especially for me, into high priority bins for future use. And look, you even get 3 extra pieces from that new yellow parts pack, including even one of those much, much improved cupcake pieces. This is a spare part as well. And there's just a look at the spent sticker sheet, so you can see more of just what that material looks like. It's pretty cool. I wish there were some spares, just little die cut cutouts that you could use from this as well. So this is selling for $50 US. And I think that's a little bit on the high side. I'm not particularly happy with that price. However, the good news is that from what I've seen, third-party retailers are consistently selling this at $40 US. And I am much, much happier with that price. That actually feels pretty satisfactory. For the amount of stuff that you get here, it also puts the price to part ratio in a very nice place, especially when you consider just how large these pod pieces are. And you've got some large panel pieces in there as well, and the new figures and everything. So I think 50 was not an extraordinarily high price. It wasn't completely out of the question, but it did feel high to me. 40 feels comfortable. I'm okay with that. Overall, I think that LEGO has done a pretty decent job with this. I mean, I've only seen one set up close. I also saw a brick set review for one of the other sets. I just wanted to try this out and get a nice sizable set from the theme to check out the parts. And again, I'm really glad that I did, because some of these parts are really interesting. I hope that they will continue to use them in the future. Of course, the cupcake piece, but these I feel have a lot of use in the future. I hope that they're not going to be exclusive to just this theme. I hope that they'll come up with different colors, including even perhaps trying some opaque colors. It's interesting. The figures are okay. And, they do have the legs and the torsos and all the parts attached to the torso, or that are parts of the torso, that are compatible with regular LEGO minifigs. So for folks who are just into regular LEGO stuff, these sets do still provide, good parts and even some pieces that are interchangeable with your regular minifigs. And they've got some useful prints and also different colors. So that's pretty cool. This guy is weird. It's probably the least useful for folks who are not particularly looking for Trolls collectibles. The heads are done all right. The hair pieces are interchangeable decently well. It's nice to have the ability to put an accessory on each. The open space on top is kind of weird. It's kind of awkward. They suggest that you put other things in there, but I don't know why they didn't put a stud in the middle, just to hold on to a part. Anything that you would want to put in there, I think would, now that I think about it a little bit more, probably some pieces would get stuck in there and it'd be frustrating to get them out. So that's probably why they didn't put a stud in there. Still, it's too bad. I can understand why they didn't go with flexible, combable, simulated hair. I personally felt when they first announced this theme that they needed to do combable hair, just because, I remember the original Trolls figures and toys and things and the commercials that were out in the 80s, where, it was all about combing the hair. It was all about the hair. That was the thing. Adults would get them and they would display them on their desks at work and everything, and it'd just be a big old tuft of hair. It's kind of the big major draw of them. And yeah, LEGO didn't do that, but I'm okay with it. I'm at peace with that, with what they've done for the interchangeable hair pieces. Just would have been nicer to actually have something combable, stylable. I think it kind of would have been very on brand with these. But overall, I think they did a pretty good job. One interesting thing that came up while I was investigating this theme, quite by accident even, was that LEGO is not the first company to do official licensed brick-based construction sets for the new Trolls cinematic universe, Trolls movie series. For the first movie, Hasbro had the license. Hasbro did it under their Creo brand when that was still around. Is that even still around? I don't know. But check those out. They're rather different. They do have the combable hair, the simulated hair, And they rely very, very strongly, very, very heavily on printed felt pieces that you bend around to create backdrops on parts, or on builds. So they don't have it nearly as many actual built-up parts as these sets do. I think that Lego did better in general on their figures. There's not as much variation from what I've seen. But yeah, just check out those Creo ones just for an interesting little just weirdness. I can't quite call it historical. It's not like it's that old, but it was a surprise to me. And it's just, funny, weird thing to look at and check out. But hope that this has been enjoyable for you. Again, I'm very glad that I got this set and was able to check out some of the pieces. I hope they will continue to make some more in the future. And if you want to see how this was built, I have, as usual, the pure build, which is done in real time with just the sounds of parts being put together. And I also have the speed build, which is just more of your traditional time-lapse sort of thing with some music to go with it. So check out one of those if you'd like to. Links to their whole dedicated channels are in the video description, and also on my channels list and all that. And I'll talk to you again soon.